Welcome to Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp. This is not going to be a normal episode today because it's not a normal day, week, year. Wow. What are we going to call this episode? What are we going to call this moment in history? America reckons with its racial injustice. It kind of makes you long for the good old days when we just had to worry about a virus and a pandemic. But we should never long for the good old days because I think that's basically what the root of all the problems are. I don't know how long I'm going to talk today. My mom's going to sit this one out. I just wanted to speak my mind and tell you about my feelings and my experiences in the past week. Now, I think probably a better name for this episode would be 8 minutes and 43 seconds that shook America to its core. I'm sure you saw the video. It's hard to watch the entire thing of the cop, Derek Chauvin, with his neck on George Floyd's neck, with his knee, on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and his fellow cops not doing anything, the crowd going crazy, yelling for him to stop, and and George Floyd is begging for his life. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and if you can watch that video and not be upset or disturbed, then you're part of the problem. I know my listeners are pretty enlightened people, and you've probably been overdosing on the news like I have, but the big news that came out yesterday is that the murderous cop, Derek Chauvin, is going to be charged with second-degree murder, and the other three police officers, J. Alexander Kuhn, or Kong, and Thomas Lane, and Chow Toy, or Tao, however you say it, they're all going to face charges. But you and I know this isn't enough. I mean, of course, those men should be charged with aiding and abetting a murder, and Derek Chauvin should be charged with the most severe kind of, first-degree murder is premeditated. So he didn't wake up that day and say, I'm going to kill George Floyd. So second-degree murder, by the letter of the law, is as harshly as he can be charged. And that's good news. But, there needs to be reform in our policing, and there needs to be a different authority that looks out over, that watches out the actions of the police other than, I was watching the PBS NewsHour yesterday, and they said that 99% of police officers who murder or do violent acts get off because they're always investigated by their own police department, and the police department always, looks out for their own people. So many things need to change. I think a lot of things are going to change, and it took the country, this powder keg, everything that's happening now. I mean, it's heartbreaking, but it's also kind of beautiful, like most things in life. Let me read you this thing. This is from the New York Times on Sunday. This is about Derek Chauvin. In nearly 2 decades with the Minneapolis Police Department, Derek Chauvin faced at least 17 misconduct complaints, none of which derailed his career. Over the years, civilian review boards came and went, and a federal review recommended that the troubled department improve its system for flagging problematic officers. All the while, Chauvin tussled with a man before firing 2 shots, critically wounding him. He was admonished for using derogatory language and a demeaning tone with the public. He was named in a brutality lawsuit, but he received no discipline other than 2 letters of reprimand. Well, his day has come, and it's just, what a disgusting posture with him on his with his knee on George Floyd's neck and his hands in his pocket. I'm looking at the photo right now. I mean, it's disturbing, and rightfully so. Any good-hearted American or anyone who believes in goodness and justice is upset about this. So this past Saturday, May 30th, I live across the street from Pan Pacific Park, excuse me, which is on one side of my building, and on the other side of my building is the CBS Television City. So I woke up that morning. I mean, if there's anything funny about Saturday, and something that I'll probably, bring to the stage somehow in the future, is we woke up Saturday and my mom was telling me, well, I got an email from the management of my building. And they said that you probably heard that there's going to be a protest across the street in the park, and that we've hired extra security. So that's how I became aware of this protest that was going to happen across the street. And basically, I spent the morning lecturing my mother about peaceful protests and how this is California and people are mellow. And because my mom's impression of protesters were hooligans, were people who just wanted to tear shit up and loot and break things and everything. And so I spent the morning going, no, Mom, it's this is California. People are mellow, and they believe in causes enough to march and things like this. And then later that night, several hours later, the entire neighborhood is on fire around me, and burning cop cars. We could see the black smoke from my balcony. It was kind of funny. Well, I want to tell you the whole story about my experience, but basically, I mean, nothing's funny about what happened, but what's funny is me telling my mom how people in California don't tear shit up, that they protest peacefully, and then a few hours later, it's the worst riots in Los Angeles in 28 years. So my mom, so they're doing the protests, and my mom, like anybody, was upset about the murder of George Floyd. So my mom, after I told her, about the protest is happening across the street, and it's Black Lives Matter, and my mom insists. She said, I want to go, and then I was resistant. I was like, no, Mom, we don't have to go. I know how you feel. And she was like, no, I want to go. And I really, I'm so impressed with my mom, and I'm proud of her that she wanted to do the noble, right thing. And she wanted to go out and, take a look at this California protest, because it's a very California experience. So I said, okay, we'll go out there, but let's keep a safe distance away from people. We're going to hang in the back, and, we'll just, we'll take a stand with the people, but we're going to stand 6 feet away from people and try not to get too close because of the virus. So, I took tons of photos. There was so many great, here's the one photo. This woman, I posted all these great videos on my Instagram as it was happening. This one woman had this great sign. We talk about it, y'all mad. We kneel, y'all mad. We raise our fist, y'all mad. Cops kill an innocent black man, y'all know mad. Just great signs. It was a really good sign, and I got a great picture of. and they, it was all. Well, one thing at a time, Tom. Tell the people one thing at a time. People were social distancing at the beginning of this protest, and I got a great picture of these people staying apart. And this white guy has a sign that says white silence equals violence. And then this other woman further away from him, white woman, she has a sign that says stop looting black bodies. Probably the most powerful sign of the day. So, the great thing that my mom got to see firsthand was that they were not hooligan people that were at this protest. It was, it was families. There were families of all kinds, and there was just ethnicities of every flavor, and black people were not the dominant people there. It was mostly white people and Asians, and it started out as a beautiful thing, and we're there. We were in the back. Their sound system wasn't that good, but there was one moment where this guy, everybody, it was very peaceful, and this kind of gritty looking white dude in his 30s comes walking through. Everybody start yelling. This is a protest. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. And then everybody starts doing it. And then later when the violence started, or just the tearing up of shit, more so than violence, was me thinking about that guy. He was the one agitator that I saw while we were at that protest. And so we were there for about a half hour. It started at noon, and then a lot of people started coming, and it started getting really crowded. And being worried about the virus, I said, "Mom, let's get out of here." So we left. We walked around the block. I live by the Grove and the Farmers Market and CBS. We walked to the Grove, walked up Fairfax, took a right on Beverly because I wanted to get some bagels for lunch. And the bagel broker, the best bagel in Los Angeles, they were closed. This is the sign they had. I was so proud of my neighborhood. Just good-minded, conscious people. Where is this sign from the bagel broker? He had a sign in the window, and it said that bagel broker is closed. Almost. There it is. The bagel broker will be closed at 12 p.m. today, Saturday, 5/30/20. This is in support of the ongoing movement for Black Lives Matter. I think that's beautiful. It's a Jewish neighborhood. It's a Jewish-owned bagel place that they closed because they, wanted to recognize the moment that's happening and probably go out and take place in this peaceful protest. So we go home, and I guess people are coming out of the park now. I guess the protest was just ending, and people were just spilling out onto Beverly Boulevard. Took some great pictures. Asians for Black Lives Matter. There was a Latino woman, Latina, who had a sign. Where is it? El silencio es violencia. Silence is violence. and then at the corner of the Grove Drive in Beverly, where the Air One grocery store is, there's like a bunch of people were clustered, and there was some woman that had a sign, and it said, "Cops are KKK, all cops are bastards." People are honking. It seemed like everybody in Los Angeles was in support of this protest and people standing up and wanting justice to be done. So we got back to my apartment, and it was about a half hour later, all hell broke loose in my neighborhood. I was right in the center of Ground Zero. And the police, I could see from my balcony. I looked down on CBS Television City, and there were 50 police cars, and then there were police trucks with the running boards on the back. And it was basically the staging area for the police. They were using CBS Television City kind of like the castle, and which is interesting because at one point there's thousands of people on Beverly, and then at the corner of Beverly and Fairfax, there I could see black smoke going up, and then we turn on the television and there's a police car on fire, and we saw later coverage that there was so much organized anarchy involved in this. They showed a closed circuit television picture of some girl in a car, and she had Molotov. She was going around throwing Molotov cocktails at the cop cars. That's how they were, because I'm like, how do you set a cop car on fire with like a lighter or something? unless you brought gasoline. So the neighborhood's on fire, all these people, and they're marching down Beverly. And then I was filming these things. I was posting them on Instagram as it was happening. And they all stopped. They see the cops. And then it's like there was a minute where they tried to crash into CBS, into the front gate. And it's an amazing video I saw later where they took a dumpster and they were trying to ram the door, ram the gate at CBS. And I think I've told this story about, I don't know. I don't know. I know I mentioned before, like a year or so ago, I went and complained about the noise because they were making a lot of noise at CBS, and it was like at 6:20 in the morning, so they stopped. So since the pandemic started, CBS has been closed. Everything's been closed. The garbage trucks have been coming at 7 a.m. and they got all the dumpsters are out on the side where my building is. So it's driven me crazy. They're not generating any trash, and they're shaking all these empty dumpsters at 7 in the morning. So I got so pissed off a couple weeks ago, I went down and I complained again, and that they were making all this noise. And on that video, when they're trying to smash the gates, there's this one guard who kind of saved the day. CBS should give this guy like a big bonus. And you can see him, it looks like he's almost about to pull out a gun, but he holds off these people and closes the gate just in time. And then I couldn't see that. I only saw that on the video later. I could only see all these people jammed up in front of the gate. And I felt, I wasn't afraid, but like I was just shaking. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. But then you could see the battalions of the police marching out in little units of 20, and then like other kind of SUV trucks with like 10 cops standing on the running board with their helmets and everything. And so, it looked like, the police were ready for a battle, and then I'm watching them go out in their little battalions, and then like they just started shooting rubber bullets, and all day, pop, 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 pop. And it's happening. I can see this, and I can see the cops going out on Beverly. And then, it was a matter of time. They got things under control. This young comedian friend of mine told me he was in front of the gate and he got shot a couple times with rubber bullets. I've been trading messages with him. But, and then down on the other side of the block was, it's 3rd and Fairfax. That was another big standoff place. I had a really nice moment with my neighbor yesterday. I went onto my balcony and I was leaning up against the railing, and then I looked to my left and my neighbor was on his balcony leaning up against the left. And so we both traded our stories about what we had experienced and what we had seen on Saturday. So he was telling me he had gone to the protest and he went with the crowd down to 3rd Street. And he said that the police boxed him in. And so he was down there, and he said that most of the agitators, the people that were, he said most of the people that were causing the problems were young white guys in their 20s. And he said you could tell them, he said that there was, I don't want to get into conspiracy stuff. I'm just telling you what my neighbor said. But, he said that these were like organized anarchists, and they were all kind of dressed similarly with kind of military looking clothes, and they had masks, and they were all wearing tight black sunglasses, goggles, so you couldn't see their eyes. So like if there's surveillance footage, and facial recognition technology, you wouldn't be able to figure out who these people are. And he said those were the ones that were causing all the problems. And he said those were the ones, he said it was chilling because they were the ones that weren't afraid of the police. Those were the ones that were getting into the police's faces. And there was another video I saw So right next to the Grove is the farmers market, and there's a Starbucks there, and there's a video, and this black woman took the video. It's a young Asian woman and a young Latino woman. You know, they got masks on, and they were spray painting Black Lives Matter all over the farmers market, and BLM and Fuck 12 and all this stuff. And this black woman is going, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "I want everybody to see this isn't black people doing this." And she goes, "What are you guys doing? Black people are going to be blamed for this." And then the Spanish girl said, "A black person told me to do this." And she's like, "Fuck you." So it's kind of interesting that, I don't know, there seems to be, there were like some professional criminals that hid in Santa Monica. I saw that on the news where they were organized. But of course, criminal is going to be a criminal. But, it seems like a lot of the destruction and fire and graffiti and general anarchy that was happening in Los Angeles on Saturday was not caused by black people. And it seems like, and then this was like in the 92 riots, most of the shit got tore up in South Central LA. This is up in the main central business district of Los Angeles. And then Rodeo Drive had stuff. The Grove got looted. One thing at a time. So it would just, it was like I had a, oh, there's a common sound here. We've been the last couple of days have been kind of quiet, but lots of sirens, lots of helicopters, just constantly. So this neighborhood where I'm at, I mean, we had a front row seat for one of the most turbulent moments in American history. So I turned on the television, and my mom and I were kind of going back and forth from the balcony to the television to see what was happening. And it was just, all these helicopter shots are of my neighborhood, Beverly and Fairfax, 3rd and Fairfax. I'm like, Mom, that's my Trader Joe's. And then most of the looting happened. There was like some looting in the Grove. My mom and I walked by there the next day. We went to check things out, and one of the worker guys cleaning up said that every store was looted except for the Barnes and Noble. They didn't touch the bookstore. And, it just shows you that, that's funny. I mean, who's got time to read in a riot? But it shows you that I had nothing to do with what happened. Otherwise, I'd have been, "Hey, everybody, let's run inside and grab some philosophy books." But I mean, and then again, that was that guy's opinion. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what the dude told me. So Fairfax Street, the Fairfax district, is what got hit the worst in the looting. And it's funny because that's where like a lot of the hip hop brands and shoe stores are, tennis shoe stores. The Supreme store that there's always people camped out and always a line to get in. They had remodeled or something, and their store was completely empty and had been untouched. But then, we're watching on the news that night. It was a pretty exciting night, like terrifying exciting, not gleefully exciting. Most of the hardcore shit happened on Fairfax, which is like, 1 block over from me. And they showed the cops, there's burning. They were burning shit on Fairfax. There was another great picture I took of black smoke and palm trees. And the cops had arrested 35 looters right on Fairfax in front of Cantor's. And I'm watching it on live television. I'm like, God, that's 1 block from me. And then on Melrose, a couple of stores had been set on fire, and then there was looting on Melrose. And I'm watching this with my mom, and I'm like, Mom, that, we've gone up and down, we've gone for these walks up and down all these streets every day for the last month. And I'm like, Mom, You know that one ugly house that I always say I really love that house? That's right there. That's right by that Starbucks. That place is. This is the Starbucks on Melrose. Right next to that, these two stores had been set on fire. So everything happened all around me, and you can't blame people. The Colin Kaepernick tried to protest with getting down on a knee, and everybody's all pissed off at him. And I saw there was another black woman on PBS saying, we've tried everything. We've voted. We've done this. We've done that. We've marched. There's nothing changes. So, whew. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I don't want to forget anything I wanted to tell you. It's so interesting. The next day, we went outside to go check out the neighborhood, and we walk around. We could see graffiti all over the Grove and the farmers market, and then we walked up Fairfax. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Then so we're walking up Fairfax. This is what I wanted to say. On Sunday, May 31st, was really beautiful. That all of the neighbors in the neighborhood, the people that live in the neighborhood, all came out with brooms and dustbins, and paint thinner. So there was just like hundreds of people that live in the neighborhood cleaning up Fairfax the next day. They're sweeping up broken glass. People were removing the spray painted messages. There's a feminist version of The Onion. What is that called? I saw they had a post yesterday and it said, "Losers clean up multi-billion-dollar conglomerate bank walls from graffiti," like something stupid like that. You can make all the jokes you want. It's usually in times of tragedy that human beings show their best sides and their most compassionate sides. And there was a real kind of harmonious feeling in the next day, almost like a hurricane had passed, and everybody's out to check on their neighbors and clean up the debris and stuff. And we got to talk to. There's a little movie theater that opened up on Fairfax called Fairfax Cinema. Talked to the owner. On that day, they were out cleaning up the spray paint in front of their building, and I told him I was a comedian. And he said, "Oh, you're in the same boat as I am. Who knows when we'll be able to have crowds in again?" And then we walked up to. It was just really nice on Fairfax to see all these people. Just a friendliness in Los Angeles that I've never seen before. Especially in my neighborhood and in my building. There's people kind of are snooty and kind of have their head in their ass, and it seemed to have all evaporated. People were more willing to speak and say hi for a minute. And my mom's so cute. She's got her camera, and she's, we wanted to take pictures of people with their signs. She's like, "Do you mind if I take your picture?" That was like on Saturday the 30th when we were walking down Beverly. Most of those great pictures of people with their signs that I took was because my mom said, "Do you mind if I take your photo?" And they, everybody's happy to have their photo taken. Unless you're a looter or an anarchist. And that's what it was like walking up Fairfax. And then on Melrose, there was fire trucks and tons of police and a lot of gawkers out there. Hey, we were among the gawkers. We were gawking. So that was basically the weekend. And then just in American history in the last couple of days have been pretty intense. It's great. I think my mom is starting to get enlightened and open up her understanding of the fact that the president of this country is trying to destroy America and divide us. Because we were watching on television 2 nights ago And, we haven't been watching much news from all the, COVID-19 and all that. But this past week, you can't help but watch the news, especially when it's happening right here in my neighborhood. So we're watching live on the, and then, so 2 days ago, there was another march down Beverly, thousands of people. And it looked like mostly white people from the pictures that I that I took. So we're watching on television as the people are protesting in Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C., and they're peacefully protesting. And then the police shoot tear gas and clear the streets. And my mom and I, both of us were appalled. We're like, oh my God, they were peaceful protesters. Why are they doing this? And then you see the people like covering their eyes, they're in pain. And then, the police, pushing people back with their batons and clearing the area. And then 10 minutes later, we realize why. And it was so Trump, he finishes his press conference, which they showed. Then he walks across the street with a Bible to take his picture in front of the St. John's Church. And, my mom's not stupid. I don't think most people in this country are stupid. If you're a religious person, a true believer in the message of Jesus Christ, you would rightfully be offended by Trump using the Bible as a political prop. If the guy had any love and compassion in his heart, he would have opened the Bible, he would have read it, or he'd have gone out and prayed with the pastor of that church or a group of people, tried to seize this moment in American history and bring us together. And especially if he's acting as the defender of the faith, that he's going to go out there and, big fucking deal. You take a picture in front of a church holding a Bible when none of your actions have ever said that you were a Christian or ever done anything compassionate for another human being. So those are two things from this week that I'll never forget as long as I live. Running back and forth from the balcony to the TV, seeing the neighborhood on fire, and then watching live on television with my mom at these peaceful protesters in front of the White House and them being tear gassed and cleared the way so that Trump could walk across the street and take a picture holding a Bible in front of St. John's Church. And anybody with a heart or everybody should be upset by that. And I was upset by that. And I was communicating with my friend Rich Leiby, who works at the Washington Post, and I was saying, can you believe that they tear gassed those peaceful protesters in front of the White House? And he said, yeah, actually, this is his text back to me. He said, yeah, actually, it was worse than tear gas. It was CS, the chemical agent used at Waco. It's a military weapon, essentially. The beef the right wing had with Waco, among other things, is how the civilian law enforcement was militarized. Where are they now? Cheering Trump. General Mattis' statement is huge. And of course, General Mattis is the former Secretary of Defense, or I forget what his position was exactly, but he said that he would not get involved in domestic matters, but he felt the need to speak out that Trump's rhetoric about now he wants to, he's talking about using our own military against the American people. And a few other ex-generals came out and said that the military is trained to fight foreign enemies, not the United States citizens. And, we pay their salaries through our taxes. And another thing that I saw on PBS yesterday was that 40% of our United States military is African American. And I'm sure they might have strong feelings about what's happening now also. But it was just, it's almost like the 1968 or 1965 with that's one of our basic American rights, is to assemble peacefully to protest. And, all these, gun advocates who are always up in arms about the Second Amendment and, Americans' right to own guns. I think if you give up one right, you give up all of our rights. So, the people who are always, clamoring about their rights as gun owners, where are they now? Where's the outcry over Trump CS gassing these peaceful protesters in front of the White House? And then the other thing that I find completely abhorrent and appalling is the fact that he used the Bible as a political prop. He could have tear gassed the people and then read them from the Bible as they were crying and wiping the tears from their eyes. But it's so offensive because Trump is not a man of the Bible, or he doesn't read the Bible. None of his actions say that. And, it's like my mom took me to, one thing I think about, I'm not like, I have faith, and I try not to rub it in anybody's face because I think that your faith is a very personal thing, and it's unique and individual to everybody. But I remember years ago in Orlando, my mom took me to the Holy Land experience, the religious theme park. And I didn't like it. And the thing that I found offensive about it was the fact that they have a man dressed up like Jesus, and he's walking around taking pictures with kids and family. And the thing I like about Christians is you can make jokes about our religion and people don't get too upset about it. Like you can't make any Islam jokes. But, having Jesus as like a Mickey Mouse character walk around an amusement park, I find that offensive. And I found it very offensive that Trump would CS gas these peaceful protesters and just for a photo op to hold up the Bible. I mean, are people that dumb that they would... He's the defender of the faith? It's mind-blowing. And fortunately, it seems like some Republican people are starting to speak out about it. And wow, what did it take for you to finally speak out? Trump called out the National Guard. We walked out in our neighborhood Wednesday, and there's National Guard troops down at the Grove. And then we walked further down to 3rd and Fairfax, and there's 5 military trucks down there and soldiers with machine guns. I took some great photos. The time to send in the National Guard was Saturday. That's when things were chaotic and the fire trucks and the police couldn't get all over the city because so many things were happening at once. 4 days later, the cops in Los Angeles have had everything under control since Sunday, basically. So it was useless and a waste of money to send in the National Guard 4 days later. And I took this great photo of the 4 military trucks on Fairfax. To the left across the street is Trader Joe's, and on the sidewalk was a homeless man sleeping. And then there's these National Guard soldiers standing there with their assault rifles. And I just thought that said so much about just America. In one photo, I captured consumerism, military might, and disregard for human life, all in one photo. And it's funny that I've been posting all these photos and videos and trying to capture everything that's been going on, and I've lost 50 followers on Instagram. And I love my girlfriend always says, "Fuck them, honey. They were the non-essentials." But I remember when I was in Israel, and my friend Yisrael Campbell, who's been on the show, Orthodox Jewish comedian, who lives in Jerusalem, he had that round fur hat that you see Jewish Orthodox guys in Brooklyn wearing. And he said he had one, and he let me try it on, and I posted a photo of it, and I lost like 30 followers. And this is the only time I've ever lost more than that. So it's funny. I thought I was being a great journalist capturing what was happening around me. But I've said it before. I'll say it again. I am like the Catholic Church because I specialize in unfollowers. But it's an emotional time, and it's hard not to get angry. It's hard not to get upset. The best thing, is the day after the riots up and down Fairfax, seeing all those neighbors and people out sweeping up the glass and wiping off the graffiti with paint thinner. It was really beautiful what happened in the neighborhood when we walked around. I've heard people make fun of it and jokes about, wiping off graffiti from $1 billion conglomerate bank. You're a loser for doing that. But, all cynicism aside, I think that whenever there's a tragedy of any kind, that's when human beings show their best side and their most compassionate side. And I thought it was a beautiful, loving thing that all these neighbors came out the next day to clean up the neighborhood. So, my message. I'm pro-humanity, any way you slice it. And I cheer for love. I try to be a good person. I thought it was really nice that some people sent me messages saying that they thought about my mix the races joke and that was the only real solution to racism in the world, was to mix the races so that you could, judge people individually and get to know them. Another funny thing that happened on Saturday when the protests that morning, I mentioned Black Lives Matter, and my mom said, all lives matter, honey. And I said, Mom, well, that's kind of what racist people say, to discount the Black Lives Matter movement. Of course, all lives matter, but the Black Lives Matter movement is saying that, of course, all lives matter, but it appears that Black lives don't matter. And that's the point of the whole thing. And then we went across the street to that protest in Pan Pacific Park, and there was a black woman who had a sign that said all lives matter. So can we all stick to the same pages of the hymn book? I guess the moral of the story is don't lecture your mother. I do find it interesting that people are defending Trump for shooting the CS gas at the peaceful protesters. And it's funny that you see in the news and they say the GOP leaders defend Trump's actions as being a strong leader or whatever. Do you know what GOP stands for? GOP stands for Grand Old Party. And if that doesn't sound like the defenders of the old Southern way, I don't know what does. Some cute things. It was great seeing that all these solidarity protests all over the world. I don't know if you saw in London, they showed a bunch of people in Trafalgar Square, and with their cute little English accents, I thought it was really adorable. They were chanting, "Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter." That was beautiful. One good thing that happened today was they announced that somebody sent me a video on Instagram, one of my followers, and said, look what's happening in my city. And they showed these peaceful protesters being tear gassed at this Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond. And it looked completely chaotic, like the scene in Washington, D.C. in front of the White House. And today it was announced that by the governor of Virginia that the Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond is going to come down. So that's kind of good news. And I think all of our problems today are basically because the Union did not clean up the mess after World War II, that they let Jim Crow and terrorism through police and KKK basically keep the white supremacy alive and well in the southern United States. So, wow, it's just such a crazy time in America. I felt the need to speak out because, as the sign says, silence is an endorsement. Wait, what's the beautiful Desmond Tutu quote? Where is it? If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And I think that says it all. Desmond Tutu said that. I just want to say a couple more things. I thought it was also kind of cute. They had mayors around the city on Saturday when all the rioting was happening, and they were saying, please remember to social distance and wear a mask in the rioting. And it's funny, I was thinking as I'm on my balcony watching the black smoke from the cop car rise at the corner of Beverly and Fairfax, and I'm seeing people on the TV, on the helicopter camera shot, all these people without masks and close together. And every day for the past month at the corner of Fairfax and Beverly has been this Latino guy who's been selling great masks for $5. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, these people without masks, they just need to look around and find this Latino guy because he's right there. That's his spot. Where they're burning the cop car is the spot where this guy normally sells his masks every day. So this country has got a long way to go from healing. And it's, wow, I'll never forget what's happened all around me in this neighborhood and what's happening in the country right now. I feel like, I'm an eternal optimist. I feel like some change has got to happen. And it's a pretty terrifying, it's terrifying that the leader of the country at this moment, like he was doing a few months ago when the COVID-19 outbreak happened, that instead of trying to unite the country in this unique special moment in world history, he's trying to divide us further. And for me, that's just something I'll never forget and I'll never get over. And the man certainly won't be getting my vote in November, if you know what I'm saying. So I just want to end the podcast on, it's what we do in our own lives is going to solve this problem. There has to be reform to policing. There has to be, better opportunities for people who are non-white and non-rich in this country. And, it starts with, relationships we have in our own lives and our friendships. And, it's not going to be society making this change. It's going to be every one of us individually making this change. And I want to end the podcast today with something that my father said. I think it's very funny, but it's also like a very beautiful thing that my father told me when I was a teenager, when the topic of interracial marriage came up. My father said, I don't care who you marry as long as they're tall, because I'm tired of watching our family sit on the bench. My father was such a sports fan, and he watched sports all the time. That was the thing that he cared about the most, was that you can marry anyone from any race you want, just as long as they're tall, and our family might finally produce a good athlete or two. So anyway, I love you all with all my heart. Thank you so much for supporting me and my podcast. It's been an emotional week for me. I've felt anger. I've felt tears. I've felt hopelessness. And I'm sure you guys have felt very similar things. So wherever you're at in the world, keep shining your heart bright. Be a good person. And thank you so much for the love that you sprinkle on me every day of the year. And that's it. Long may you run, my friends. Shalom, amigos. Amigas.
Tom Rhodes, you're a funny man. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedian. Tom Rhodes, karate kick, baby, oh yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're a groovy dude. You go all around the world, telling jokes to all of the people. You are an international comedian. You're funny. funny to everybody in every single country in the world. Tom Rhodes, I like you very much. I think you're talented and very wonderful. Tom Rhodes, you're the best guy in the world. I wanna be your friend, you should call me sometime. Here is my phone number, 603-644-0048. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedic sensation. Tom Rhodes, I like to listen to your podcast. Tom Rhodes, you're the best man to ever walk on the earth.